she is.
Hi guys, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm
Joe
really
is the gentleman in the purple shirt, and he's the founder of Real Estate Pet Project.
Oh, hi
And
Joe, what a great idea. I love this.
I think this is going to be a lot of fun. When we first started
yeah.
talking about bringing people on and talking, you were the first person that Jamie brought up. She's like,
Oh.
we have to bring on Marnie. We have to talk to Marnie.
Well, Jamie's the best, so I'm also part of her mutual admiration society. So
You're funny.
And give us a little background, because I was reading up on you at who you are, but give us a little of your background before we do it.
Well, ironically, well, I'm from Montana originally. That's probably the most important part of me if you ask anybody. But I was a lobbyist for a really long time. And so I started doing international aerospace. So doing absolutely nothing where kittens were involved. And then I switched to do Montana nonprofits. I had my own little firm and I did several Montana nonprofits, municipalities, Indian tribes, low-income housing, stuff like that. And then when the government came to a screeching halt, I switched to kittens. I was volunteering and I just thought, why not try to teach more people about neonates? It's something I had gotten involved in. And so I just don't do anything halfway. I just started that. I thought I'd try it and it's gone really, really well. We have a little presentation that we do, just talks about how the whole thing was developed and what we did. See that?
We got it.
Yep.
Let me make sure I have so we can do the sound because we do have a video on it. Do we want to wait for it to see if everyone gets on?
Well, and a lot of people, because they're watching on the Eventbrite, they won't actually come through.
Oh, so it'll be different than the Zoom. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of people will just be watching through Eventbrite.
Okay. Let me get this. Share sound. Okay, so then I'll go ahead and get started. But basically, my name is Marni Russ, and I am the National Kitten College Program Administrator at the Animal Welfare League of Arlington. The Animal Welfare League of Arlington is we are an open admission shelter here in Arlington. We have the county contract, but the majority of our funding comes from private donors. So we are what's considered a public-private. We have a public-private partnership. We have a total intake of 3,000 animals in 2022, which was a huge increase, mostly due to our kittens and this program. And the majority of our kittens come from outside of our county. We do a lot of transfers. So we also enjoy a 98% live release rate, which is incredibly high. We come from a very well-educated transient area. We're right outside DC. So we see a lot of coming and goings with the administrations. A lot of people come in to work with various legislators. So how we started this Kitten College is because I am also co-founder of the National Kitten Coalition. And we worked with AWLA to create a kitten manual in 2017. We wrote this in 2016 and published it in 2017. And basically, we went to the 5 major nurseries in the country. We're talking the big dogs. We're talking 300 cage and kennel kitten nurseries. ASPCA in New York City. We did Austin Pets Alive, the Best Friends one in Los Angeles, Jacksonville Humane, and San Diego Humane. So these are organizations that spend a lot of money to save neonates, and they have amazing information. And we wanted to put it together to bring that information to people so they could understand the lessons learned these folks did. Like, what surprised them? What did they wish they had done differently? But when I was sitting in these meetings, I kept thinking, okay, this is wonderful for the kittens that end up in Manhattan, of all places. But what happens to the majority of kittens that are going to end up in small to mid-sized municipal shelters? That's where the majority of kittens will be. And what are their options? So I went to AWLA at the time and said, would you ever consider doing a pilot program here where we could put these animals together or put a program together and just try and save these animals? And like I said, Arlington is a high functioning shelter with very educated community, very a very well-educated liberal community, and very animal-loving community. So we didn't have a big problem with our kittens. But from living here and working in animal welfare, I knew that we had kittens that were being euthanized all around us every night. So I thought, what if we just see if we can address the need? And they were very generous. They said, you know what, let's try for the summer. Let's see if there's a need. They were able to get a private donation of $25,000. We turned this little tiny closet right here into a nursery. And I intentionally put my business plan together without definition, which sounds a little weird for a business plan. But essentially what it did is I didn't want to say we are going to be an in-house kitten nursery or we are going to be a foster-based nursery. I wanted to have the opportunity to do both and determine what was going to be best for our community. So essentially our biggest costs were our incubators, our kennels, and our we got an oxygen concentrator. So oxygen concentrators really are the only things that you can get at a vet. An incubator and an oxygen concentrator are the only things you can do for neonates. So we were really saving a lot in what we could do for supportive care for neonatal kittens by having them on hand at the shelter. Somebody's mute is not on.
I told her I'd confirm with her and I never did.
Tracy, can you please mute your?
So really we ended up only using about $10,000 of our original investment. And this is what we got. So in 2017, July of 2017, we kicked off the DC metropolitan area's first neonatal kitten nursery. And this is my friend Phil Vassar, who's a country music singer and terribly allergic to kittens. But he came in and did our kickoff. We had to wrap the kittens up because he couldn't touch them. But we launched our kitten nursery. So the year before we did our kitten nursery, Arlington did 92 kittens a year. Last year, we did 1,547 kittens. So we were clearly addressing a need. And it's something people don't talk about. When shelters are looking at getting competitive funding or rankings within our industry, they look at your live release rate. The live release rate is what comes in alive, leaves alive, whether it goes to shelter, it goes to a rescue, whether it's adopted, whatever happens to it, it comes into your doors alive, it leaves alive. You have to look at what's being euthanized, and what's the number one most euthanized animal in a shelter is a neonatal kitten. So we found that people are really trying to look at ways to save these little things so their live release rate goes up. So I have to assume that the reason us pulling these kittens was so well received is because that allowed these shelters that were struggling so terribly to up their live release rate. So I'm going to show you a video now to let you see sort of what has come out of our program. And then we're going to talk about the steps we did to make it a sort of low risk on the end of the shelter, low resource based program. And it also is just a really cute video to watch. that video I just love because it's all kittens. So, so basically every shelter, I'm sure the ones that you guys support in your communities, they all have kitten programs. We all have to deal with kittens in our community and figure out ways to save them. We're no different, but we do have different components that have really worked well for us. So those are what I really want to share with you to see if it's something that the things that we have taken on may be able to help you. And keep in mind that everything that we have done, we are completely transparent. If something applies to you, reach out to me. I am happy to give you all of our information. We travel to shelters to help put this in place. We learn from you. We add to our presentations all the time. We want to create a kitten safe community here in the United States where we all work together and share resources. It's really the only way we can tackle this huge beast of too many kittens and kittens being euthanized. But the main ways in which this little tiny program got to be the monster that it is today is because of the concept of Kitten College. We also sustain ourselves internally in different ways that seem to be very effective. We offer foster flexibility, and we really work hard to have a place for everybody. And that is for folks that might not necessarily be to put it nicely, they may not be cut out for fostering. They may not have the best intuition for it, but really love the animals and want to do something. We find a place for them to be a part of the program that they love and appreciate their commitment to it. So the foster program, the foster layout that I initially talked about, is our fosters are broken up into divisions. So our fosters are freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. And what we try and do is we try and keep our senior fosters available as much as possible. And what this does is this allows each foster to sort of determine their own experience. When I first started fostering, I got a kitten when it was 1 day old. I really thrive on the bottle babies. I had the gift of a good eye to tell if a kitten was struggling or needed something. I was really able to bottle feed, which some people just hate that. I just loved it. And so it was a good fit for me. But I would get a 2-day-old kitten and I would have to keep that kitten until it was put up for adoption. So there were times where my experiences and my skills were not being utilized in the best way. And so what I really wanted to do is set up a program where I would have bottle babies and then they would move on to people that wanted to do, maybe the weaning stage or the playful stage or the I just need to gain weight till I can get sterilized stage. So our senior fosters take those teeny tiny bottle babies or kittens that come in with special needs. They do have an ability to really recognize distress and can act quickly to mitigate a kitten that may be fading or needs something immediately. And then it's really wonderful for fosters who are like, we see that kitten season is predominantly in the summer. People also like to travel with their families in the summer. So if we have a foster that says, I'd love to foster, but we're going somewhere in 2 weeks, so I can't foster till we get back. That's not a problem. You take those kittens for 2 weeks, we'll find another foster for them. And maybe that foster will be a junior. So that kitten is now going to get exposure to a whole new group of people, a whole new set of a way to live. They'll be starting to wean. They'll be older bottle babies. Certainly a junior can handle mild medical conditions. And it's really, really good for these kittens. This was something that we didn't intend, and we're going to talk about it in a few minutes, but just the impact on the socialization of these kittens. Juniors also have a very strong eye. They can handle mild medical conditions. They can do older bottle babies. We also, sorry, I went the wrong way. We do with the sophomores, then we'll take kittens that are independently eating. They have fully weaned. They can be a little bit smaller. They will do URI kittens, meaning they have an upper, like a cold, essentially, have diarrhea. They would need a daily oral med, and sophomores would be able to do that. Our sophomores also take kittens that are healthy but need socialization. They need to understand that humans are good and provide them all of their needs. And then our freshmen would take healthy kittens. So if we got kittens that came in that were 7 weeks old, they needed to gain a pound or two, they need to learn to play, they would go to a freshman family. And that allows the fosters to be like, well, this is what I'm comfortable with. And if they're comfortable, if we have people that come in that are freshmen that then later decide they want to be a sophomore or a junior, then we'll line them up with people in that class and help them transition to what they want. We realized that our program really turned into something that was foster based. So our power of our program is based in our fosters, and we take time to recognize that. We have these jackets that we give our special fosters. They are our Kitten College professors. They run the program. They teach incoming fosters. They take a lot off of our plate in the shelter. So we make a lot of time to support them. This year, from an idea we got from one of the shelters we visited, the coats say professor. So we are doing a little play on words on that, but it really is evolving every year. It's important that we recognize them. One thing that we didn't anticipate is a lot of our fosters have become social media influencers. So they will have social, like Instagram pages with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers. So they have become a great resource for us. They need our kittens for their content, and they do a great job of getting our stories out. So we do have, that for us, then the shelter has to have some groundwork, not much, just lay out some policies that they need to abide by if they're using our animals, what they can and can't say to keep the animals safe. And we share all that when we travel, and when we give all of that to folks that want to learn about it. But the influencers bring a lot of money to the shelter and to the program. And so for that, we're very, very grateful. We started our program, when we started the Kitten College, we had 38 fosters here in the shelter. We now have over 300 fosters in the shelter. So it has become a very aggressive program. We are, we understand how fortunate we are. There is so much that we do to get to engage those fosters, to cultivate those fosters. Now it's a word of mouth. We never have to look for fosters. We'll post that we need something. Like I think Friday night we had kittens that came into a shelter after the euthanasia time, and like 10:30 on Friday night, people were fighting over who was going to drive the hour and a half to go get them. It is so heartwarming and so wonderful, and everybody wants to help save. And it took a long time to build that, but we did do that, and the community is strong. That's something that we never thought we would be in, and that's something that's not necessarily unique to us. Anybody can do it, and we want to be able to help the shelters that you work with. Please share this information. Give them my contact. I travel every week to shelters all over the country, and we give everything that we have done on a thumb drive, and we walk through everything. We have shelters come and spend a full day at our shelter free of charge for them to learn this program, talk to our vets, talk to our fundraisers, talk to our CEO, talk to our intake and program managers, so they learn exactly what we do and take from it what they want. And when they do that, they also teach us what they do, and we roll this into information that everybody can learn from. So why it works mostly is the impact on this kitten socialization. I said earlier that we weren't anticipating that. We really did this out of utility. We did it so that kittens could go, we could get more fosters because they did not have to commit to 8 weeks of care. And we did it so that fosters would be able to determine what they wanted to do with the kittens. And so that was really why we set it up the way we did. But what came from it was these kittens that are dog-like. They can handle a transport and not break with anything. We were really worried about going from 92 kittens a year to the first year when we started getting near 500 and then 1,000. And our CEO was like, we are going to saturate the community. These kittens we're going to save them only to have them sit in the shelter. What do we do? So we started talking to shelters up north, and we sent kittens up to a shelter in Springfield, Massachusetts, who I think they adopt their kittens out for like $650 adoption fee. It was insane to us, but they were like, we'll take 40 kittens. So we drove 40 kittens in a van up to Massachusetts, and they called me the day after they got there and were like, we need to talk about your kittens. And I was so worried. I was like, oh God, are they jerks? I had no idea. And they were like, every single one of them passed quarantine in 24 hours. That has never happened. What did you do to them? Like, I think they thought that there was some sort of antibiotic I gave them or something. And after talking about it, we realized that it was the fact that they could go on a transport for 24 hours and the stress did not allow, they didn't break with anything. And it was because at such a young age, they had so many different exposures. And early on in fostering, we were told, you know, don't make loud noises, don't get anything around them, keep them like in a little hothouse bubble. And that was to their detriment. So this has really helped. And then initially we had fosters that bottle fed that were like, I don't want my baby to leave. Like I become attached and I want to see it through. And of course, you know, for us, we let our fosters do what they want to do. If they want to hold on to them, great. We will give them resources for socialization and what they need to do to make sure they're adequately socialized. But because we have fosters that do certain ages, they've sort of created a conveyor belt. Like foster A will always send her kittens to foster B. So they always know where their kittens are going. So they're very comfortable doing this little foster conveyor belt. And it works just wonderfully. So I don't think we have very many that just hold on to them for the whole time. And we ended up doing, I think, 2 or 3 foster transports up. But even with our numbers as high as they are, we thought kittens just don't sit in our shelter. We don't need to transport them. We have that option. They ended up paying us $100 a kitten. So we started getting like a couple $1,000s every time we would send them up. And we still, I mean, who makes money on kittens during kitten season? Nobody. But it was such a weird thing. But we ended up not needing it because they didn't sit. So it was a huge learning experience in all the best ways. And then we got a call, I guess a year into our program, from North Shore Animal League America, and they do the kittens for the Kitten Bowl. That is they do the Puppy Bowl on Animal Planet during the Super Bowl, and then they do the Kitten Bowl on the Hallmark Channel. And they'd heard about our kittens and that they were exceptionally social, we'll say. So for the last several years, they've used our kittens for the Kitten Bowl, which is a lot of work for us, but the fosters love it, so it's worth it. But they can take these kittens to a studio in New York City and have them play, and they aren't traumatized or scared. And so it was wonderful. And then they canceled the Kitten Bowl. So it was sort of a bummer for us, but also a kind of a relief. But I think it really speaks to the exposure you give these kittens when they're young. So then we talked about this kitten drought and saturation is, we had these transport opportunities to move them up north, and we did do it. We don't do it now because we haven't had a problem moving the kittens. So then as we were trying to do this, we started becoming a regional life-saving opportunity for kittens. So everybody knew that the Kitten College would take kittens in our area, in which we would always do that. But we would get so many that there were times, especially in the heart of the summer, we would not be able to take all of them. So I looked at it as an opportunity to be like, okay, where do we pull the most from? There were 5 areas that we really took the most kittens from. We need to go into those communities and help them keep their kittens in their community and provide them the resources and the education and train fosters for them. And then in exchange, say, your kittens will always be safe with us. We are going to prioritize your kittens. So we will pull them as long as you are training and working on a program there. So in 2019, I think we started in November and December and January, we launched our satellite campuses of the Kitten College. So these 5 were our first satellite campuses. And we really started very quickly. Anne Arundel and Middleburg Humane were the ones we pulled the most from, and Prince George's County. Prince George's County actually had a law in place banning TNR. So they are the ones that we historically have always and probably will always pull the most from. These 5 now all have active Kitten College programs. We have not pulled from Middleburg in, I think, 2 or 3 years. Middleburg is now actively bringing in transports. So they are probably our biggest success. Prince George's County has now passed a TNR ordinance that allows trappers to come in and do TNR. They have an active program, and we are pulling less and less from them. Newport News was brand new. It is located next to PETA, so they have their own set of skills. We work closely with Anne Arundel and Frederick County, but they are all doing very well. Keep in mind that when we did start this in January, essentially of 2020, COVID happened shortly after. So we have come up against some interesting obstacles that we weren't anticipating, but it's just been a wonderful program. So since we did that, we then kicked off our plan to go all over the world and conquer the world, or at least the United States, or at least clearly Florida, because we've done a lot in Florida. Florida has kitten season all the time, but I am on the road almost weekly, going to shelters and giving them all the information. We give our logo, we give our anything they want. People can call it what they want. People can do what they want. We have a platform on Facebook that anybody who is a shelter or rescue that saves kittens can join and be, ask questions, share, we have vets on there. We have every aspect of kitten saving, so we can share ideas and work together on. And so every week this number grows. This is just what I pulled the other day of ones that have recently joined. We also, kittens make a lot of money. So there is one thing to think about when you're doing kittens, although it is a big task, it is also a money maker. For us in particular, I know that there are definitely programs where Drag Queen Tiny Kitten Bingo might not be a hit. For us, it was huge. Tiny or kitten yoga is also always big. We do kitten naming games and raffles where people pay $100 at the beginning of the season, and then we go through those names as we go. We bring kittens out into the community. This week, or on Thursday, we have our kittens going to the food bank here. We go to the 911 call center. Obviously, with our relation close to DC, the 911 call centers are very active and very stressful. So we bring kittens into the break rooms. We bring them to retirement homes. Just let people know what we're doing in the community and how we're saving these little animals, and to see the faces of these kittens that would otherwise have been euthanized can be very powerful. So I've talked about our apprentice programs. This is the full day one we do in-house. This is, we invite shelters and rescues from all across the country to spend a day. These are the topics that we cover. It's very useful. Sometimes we like if we have a kitten, if we have a coordinator, maybe they don't need the fundraising, but they can bring all that information back. They're always well attended. We always have a wait list. We can't do it in the summer because we have our kids camp. So I think we have one more, and then we do a lot in the fall and spring. It's always well attended. And then we are all year round doing our travel apprentice program where we go out and teach. Usually the day of that is spending the day with staff, teaching them basically this presentation and talking to them about what their resources are and how we would see what might help, learning what they do. And then training their staff. We have a very, very popular presentation called Taking the Fear Out of Bottle Feeding and Basic Kitten Care. And basically it just talks about how to care for these kittens. There's so much has been learned in the last probably 5 years about taking care of bottle babies. They do not need to be fed every 2 hours. They're actually much more sturdy than people think. And just how you do that. We were recently asked by UC Davis School of Shelter Medicine and the University of Wisconsin School of Shelter Medicine to write for them their 0 to 8 week protocols on kitten care. So those will be released probably in the next 2 weeks. So all of this is very interesting. We also work with the coordinators, the shelter or the rescue coordinators and foster coordinators, so that when they onboard fosters, we do these calls. We try and do them during kitten season once a week. So if they have fosters that need to be trained, they don't have to train them in-house. They can give them a link to this call or to the training, and they're able to do it. So we want to keep doing all of these online learning. We don't ever record them, because if you are doing it because you're going to have kittens, you need to be able to ask questions, and your questions need to be answered in order for you to be comfortable to bring a kitten into your house. We really like the idea of putting together shared resources and making a national network. I'm gonna show you a list here in a minute of all of the courses we're going to offer on these national training calls. We're cultivating them as we go and as we hear from shelters what they need. Some are very some summers are very high in URIs or high in diarrhea or high in ringworm. So as we hear the needs of people, we can just adjust as needed. We're also going to be redoing that manual that I showed you in the beginning. The manual we did was based on going to major shelters or major rescues. We are now going to be doing a full book on the building of the Kitten College with case studies of the ones that we have done. So people can learn that way. So that is going to be a large process and will take time, but we hope to have that out late this year, early next year. So the weekly call training, these are the subjects that we are open to doing and will be doing. For foster coordinators that are looking to train fosters, we will be doing weekly or bi-weekly the basic kitten care and taking the fear out of bottle feeding. So, and these are some of the resources that we have available. We did a basic kitten care video. This is always available online if you need it. We also have the Facebook group that people can join, which is basically just for shelters and rescues. It's that networking group. It's called the Kitten College community, where people who are involved in a shelter and rescue can ask questions, ask insights, get advice on stuff they may be dealing with that they haven't seen. So that is pretty much my presentation. Does anybody have any questions about anything from there?
Well, we'll wait and see if any questions pop up. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jamie D. Simone, and I am a volunteer with This Is How I Know Marnie and how I brought her on. So I can attest from the volunteer side that the way they have the levels set up really works, because there's never a time where I'm volunteering to foster a kitten where I'm worried that I can't, if something happens, right? If, life comes up or I have to go on travel or something happens, I can always take the, just I put the message out and somebody steps up. I'm also part of the conveyor belt, right? So we have a couple of people who do the bottle babies, and I'm kind of more of a sophomore to freshman and pregnant mamas, because you can actually talk about pregnant mamas, but that is also kind of part of the program too.
Yeah.
Touch on that a little bit.
So we do actually do a ton of pregnant, especially early in the season. We'll get moms and babies. And if we have people that come in that want to foster that have never fostered before, I will often we'll send people home with a mom and babies, just so they can see the progression of what the fosters are with their, what they are supposed to be at every age level. And you're able to really see the development and where they are. And that's a great way to see kittens in their natural habitat, I guess you would say. One thing that we don't have placement for that we're really working on trying to do is if you have a feral mom that comes in as a shelter, there's a lot of liability putting a feral into a home. So we're really working on trying to find rural shelters where we can put a barn where we could put a feral mom and her babies until the babies are old enough to pull, and we can sterilize the mom and re-release them. That's stuff that we're working on. I mean, we're always working on something, but the help that the socialized moms that are great, they're wonderful mothers. It's great for people that haven't fostered to see kittens where the mom takes care of everything and you just kind of watch them grow, take care of the mom, clean the box and feed them. And then you kind of know what you're supposed to be looking for. It gives you a good idea of what your eyes should be early on.
One thing that we should hook you up with, because you're talking about the ferals, there's a group that we interviewed out of Western Michigan, like the Holland, Michigan area.
Yeah.
That has a really cool working cats program.
Oh, cool.
And what they do is you had mentioned something before about one of the areas not allowing TNR. And I'm guessing it's because they didn't allow rescues to release the animal, correct?
Yes.
So they had that same problem up there when they started this working cats program. And by proving what they were doing with the working cats program, Michigan changed their law. And so now they have a working cats program where they bring in ferals, they keep them out, and then people adopt them basically for free to become farm cats. Or they have a return to farm program where it's TNR on the farm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah,
and their
please
argument
I'd love to go there and see.
Their argument was with the state, was when we remove a cat from a farm, we really just create a vacuum for other cats to come into. And so now you end up with 8 cats fighting over the farm instead of the one that's been there forever.
The
I
alpha
thought
cat.
that was a really interesting way of putting it to the state, to change, you know, those laws that I guess were put in place at the time for a reason, right? But it
Yeah.
seems like that getting those removed is not easy for anybody.
Yeah. Well, and then we helped a shelter in Idaho last summer with the exact same thing. They had to, you know, each municipality is so different, but they had to do it through the sheriff's department. And it was the same thing where if anybody brought a feral in, they had to euthanize it. And because the sheriff's department mandated it. And so our chief animal control officer reached out to them and they were able to use verbiage to just, I mean, they didn't even have to, it didn't need to be voted on. It was just tweaking the language that they were able to do it. But Prince George's PG County had like a crazy mandate that they had to work on for a long time, but it just changed. So I'm hoping we'll see some really big differences there.
That's neat.
Isn't it? I love that.
The whole stages thing just blows me away because I think what you're doing is you're allocating your best resources to where they're needed, right?
Yeah, it seems so easy, but shelters had never done it. You know, they had been under the impression that these kittens were so fragile that if you did it, they would get sick or, you know, and it was so funny to me because I was just like, okay, these kittens are starting to walk and I can't control them. I'm done. And so people would, you know, I'd just be like, oh, great. So, you know, and I would, when I was foster coordinator, I'd be like, if somebody would want them, she's like, we're going somewhere in 2 weeks. And I was like, well, that means you're gone all summer. I mean, we were just shooting ourselves in the foot. And then, you know, I really wanted a creative name that sort of illustrated what we're doing. And for us, our purposes, that was, you know, we can market this to the media. We can, like, people are like, oh, you know, I want to be a professor or, you know, just stupid stuff, you know? And so like the package that we give people is on this little disc. It looks like it literally, I have it right here. It's like a credit card and it has all the information. Like I put on way too much. Anybody who wants it, you take it. There's no reason for everybody to do this work and not be working on saving these kittens. They're too precious and they're too fragile. And we can, you know, we can save them if we want to. And so, I mean, and this program is a perfect example of that. It was so easy. It's just changing thinking.
And Andrea had a question. What's the age that you guys recommend moving babies from mom?
So when we're talking about doing the separating moms from babies, we try and keep them with the mom, obviously, as long as possible. If the mom's feral and we if we have a bottle baby foster, we would try and move them at 4 or 5 weeks, you know, if we can. If there's no other option and the mom has to be returned and the kittens are 2 weeks, we'll take the babies if we have a foster. But when we get them, it's from the trappers. So those decisions aren't usually ours. Those decisions are the trappers that bring them to us. And one of the things about this program that I didn't anticipate was how impactful it would be to the trappers. Like the trappers to not have to put babies back. I mean, that was huge. And that I loved because I hadn't thought about that because I'm not a trapper. I haven't gone out there. But for us to say, oh, you found babies, we will take them. You know, we'll take them. And one number that we don't ever talk about is our live release rate for neonates. Our live release for neonates is 92.3%, which is amazing. Like, I mean, it's unheard of. And it's because of where we get our kids. I mean, there's no reason for it. Kittens die. In the wild, it's a 40% mortality rate. We don't advertise it because we don't say, we're not going to take those kittens because they might be sick. We know that number is going to go down. We know it. And we don't ever want to be tied to that number. But we have a great live release rate and for these little ones. And it's because our caregivers are so well trained and so good. And the kittens are so easily, you know, they're hardier than you think. They have the right kind of food, they have the right kind of meds, and they have the experienced fosters with them. And they do move a lot. And so clearly that's not an issue.
Is the live release date data somewhere? Because that's really an interesting piece that I've never actually looked at.
It should be on every shelter should be on their page. It's the live release rate. So a lot of times if they're really good, they have it. But shelter stats, especially if they have county money, if they have any sort of municipal money, they legally have to disclose it.
Wow.
So if you hear something that's like a no-kill shelter, what that means is that their live release rate is above 90%. And we don't go by no-kill because no-kill also says that if a dog has a behavioral issue and is dangerous, you still work with them and try and figure out stuff. If we have a dangerous dog, we will euthanize. If we have dogs that are suffering or their quality of life is declining, we will euthanize, and we reserve that. The no-kill philosophy is save them all. And of course, everybody wants that. That's just not something that we are always on board with, but we definitely do the 98%. And so that we're above what no-kill, the no-kill line.
Yeah, and we also know that no-kill tends to be sometimes closed admission too. They say they're no-kill, but
because they don't, and we are open admission.
Take everybody. Yeah.
That is, and the Facebook platform is open to everybody, right?
Well, everybody who's in a shelter or rescue. So
correct,
like anybody who works with kittens, like basically it is a think tank. It is like we had comments yesterday about, hey, do you adopt out to kittens? Do you foster out to people do you let people with small children foster? I mean, just stuff like that, because everybody, or we don't need to recreate the wheel on stuff, or people will be like, can I see your foster form? Can I see your, we spend so much time doing internal stuff that has already been done, that if we can all work together, everything's going to move so much faster.
Marnie, what would you say is the key component? So if somebody is trying to start this program at their shelter, like what are the first couple of things they need to put into place? Obviously, somebody needs to kind of take ownership of this, but like, what are the first couple of positions or people or volunteers, but what are the first steps they would take?
For us, it was separating the kitten program from all other fostering. I mean, we have our Kitten College. We have a Facebook page just for our Kitten College fosters, and then really start focusing on our fosters. So we did a lot of like foster cultivation, which is what every shelter struggles with, and we struggled with it at first for a long time. And so I think that we needed to do specific things. Like I went to Chamber of Commerce meetings in our community and said, there are businesses here. Can you advocate for your folks to foster? Can you incentivize them to foster, and know that people that foster bottle baby kittens, it goes under their desk? Take those things to work, put them under your desk. They don't say anything. They're so quiet. And, it brings good, it's great. People love to see bottle baby kittens at work. Who wouldn't? I don't want to meet that person. And so, and just letting them know what we're doing in the community. I went to lunch and learns at vets with a friend of mine who's a pharmaceutical rep, and I bring bottle babies with me. Vets obviously love animals. They never see bottle babies. They don't go into vet clinics because they're not really owned. So these bottle babies would come in. I would never leave with bottle babies. I would have a vet or a vet tech as a foster. We have so many highly skilled, highly specialized vets and vet techs who are fosters. We don't keep anything in the shelter anymore. We never use those cages. They are now storage in that picture that you saw. So, just cultivating it in that way. So many random things. I mean, people clombed onto the idea of Kitten College. We did a lot of like news pieces on what we were doing. And then now we have like the newscaster that came and did it. He fosters for us. And then we brought the county board in, and the county board woman who is the county board member fostered for us. I mean, kittens really sell themselves. It's just about putting people in a position where they're not scared to do it. Like they need to feel supported. They need to feel like, okay, if it doesn't work out, they'll have some place that they can go. And so like Jamie said, like she said, when life happens, I know that I am like, you take that that intense responsibility of like, I've got to do this for how long? So yeah, it works out. You know, it's a great way to just get people involved, but it took a long time for people to really learn what they were doing, and then word of mouth sort of took over. But for the first year and a half, 2 years, it was building fosters and sharing information. So that's what I would say you start out with. You make it a kitten college or kitten. We have people that call it kitten warriors. We have people that kitten commanders, lots of, you know, whatever you call your kitten program, make it standalone, and then make it so that you start really focusing on those types of fosters.
Well, and it's a community in and of itself, right?
Exactly.
And that's really what you're doing, is you're creating this own ecosystem, so to speak, just for kitten fostering.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. 100%. Yeah.
This is so neat, because I think that there's so many ways to take that same idea into the same struggles that people have with pit bulls. You can take that same theory into so many different pieces of the rescue community. I love it.
Yeah, I'm just addicted to kittens. Yeah, I could probably do it for candy too, because I really love candy.
And so let me ask you, Marnie, you know, you talked about a lot of really great side effects of doing this kitten program, getting press and building a foster network. What would you say, and you may not have this statistic, but obviously a lot of the shelters struggle with funding, right? So with having all these fosters, do you see that you get a lot more donations?
You know, I don't necessarily have the numbers but one thing that I have done, I mean, at least I can only speak to our shelter. So I really think that corporations should pay for this. Because when we're saving kittens, we are, you know, we're creating more clients for them. Royal Canin has really stepped up. Royal Canin has given, I think, our shelter $30,000 in the last few months, just months, to help support this program. And Royal Canin Baby Cat, the reason I went to them originally is because there's nothing like it. You know, Royal Canin Baby Cat is the only thing I've ever used. They're the only product that I know of that even pays attention to neonatal kittens. So they have been phenomenal. PetScript Pharmacy is a compounding pharmacy, and they are offering discounts to people. So they're giving me, so what I want to do is I want to create a toolkit when I go to these shelters. It's really, really, really important for me to keep this free for shelters that I go to, because I know that the resources are going to be stretched. So I've been working with PetScript Pharmacy, and they give, like, if it's a Kitten College, somebody who's working to save kittens, they will give them 50% off their first order. No matter, like, if they ordered $1,800 of like meds, it'll be $900 for the first time, and then 25% off every order after, as long as they're part of this little program. Like, I'm just getting started. Like, I want to reach out to Breeder's Edge, the stuff that I like. You know, I literally just started this. Like, I ran it in-house until a couple of years ago. So I don't know what it's going to look like, but the two I've reached out to are PetScript and Royal Canin, and they've both been super responsive. So I really am trying to put something together so that when they say, oh, but the cost, I can say, I know it's expensive. Here are some resources. Let me get you whatever I want to get. I really want to get to the ones that have nothing. Like, my goal is to get to nothing. So the people that, and I want to go down there for 2 weeks and set it up for them. I want to be like, okay, we're gonna get it done. So I guess probably that's the future, but I want to be able to get corporations to pay for it.
Andrea, you're here. This Royal Canin is here in St. Louis.
Oh, it is?
They are based here. Yes.
Yeah. See, they're amazing.
They're based in St. Charles County, really. Purina's also based here. So there's a lot of cat food, a lot of animal food that's based here because of the, there's a couple labs that they use to, like, test what flavors work. I had a friend growing up whose dad, that's what he did. He tested cat flavors to see what cat food flavors
He ate them?
No.
Oh my God, there was a skit on that on Saturday Night Live.
There was, like, he would have, like, bowls at his house with like
Oh.
four like A, B, and C. I remember growing
funny.
up. But yeah, that's interesting that you're getting that much help from them, because I know Purina does a lot with a lot of the bigger rescues, but it's the small rescues that just don't have the manpower to
Yeah.
even go find those people.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
that's where I think it's neat that you're trying to spread this idea, because that's what, at least to me, I've been involved in rescues for 30 something years, and there wasn't ever a lot of sharing of information.
Exactly. Everything was so proprietary. And that's when I started in rescue, was the same way. And I hated it.
Yeah. And then we started going, okay, so how do we take these ideas that one person's got, give that to other people so that everybody can just expound on it, right?
Yeah. And so
the one thing you mentioned, your social media people.
Yeah, the influencers.
We need to have one of them come on sometime, because that would be neat to teach fosters. Not to mention, we also have some social media coaches that we work with. It would just be neat to get them together to just hear them go back and forth. That would be fun.
Yeah, I'll definitely. Yeah, I can set you up with that easily.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Because I think that gives people an extra, not necessarily incentive, but an extra pat on the back when they're doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now you got my mind moving.
I know.
Jamie's going to get emails from me until 3 o'clock in the morning.
Does anybody else out in viewer land have any questions for Marnie?
No, I just want to say I'm blown away. I mean,
Oh, that's so nice.
My face wasn't on screen. I'm a little bit of multitasking today, but I'm like taking all these notes as you're talking. I find it fascinating. I'm so excited to talk to my Humane Society staff about it, and would love to get.
Well, I will put my email. I don't know how to get to the Eventbrite people, but I'll put my email in the meeting chat. So just reach out. And if there's anything that, if you guys need me to come out, like if it's something you think that your folks would, like I said, we only have one remaining one here. And I'm going to be basing out of the West Coast, I think, for a lot of the summer. So especially if there's stuff on the West Coast, I'll be flying from there. So we're Chicago area, so no, I want you to come in January when it's like 20. That'd be great. Thanks. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, that's wonderful. Yeah, so I'll put it in, and then it's great. Like when I do these, if you also have shelters, one thing I was going to tell you guys is, it really is about about sharing and breaking that stigma of not being so proprietary and working together, and that idea like we put on because obviously with 300 fosters and living in such a highly concentrated population, we're taking fosters from the rescues in our area. So I've reached out to them. So we have two that are like Alexandria. They also have a Kitten College now. And so I tell them, if you are comfortable with how we train, which obviously they are, it's like if you need kittens, post on our page. You can have any of our fosters. If they, we have to recognize that we're pulling from them, so they're able to take whatever they need.
Do you guys do anything just getting the fosters together?
Oh, they do stuff all the time. Jamie can probably speak to that more than I do. I'm not at the shelter now anymore, now that I'm on the road. So every now and then I'll hear that they had a potluck or a movie viewing, so she probably hears about that more than I do.
Yeah, they do. They put out little notifications. Sometimes people will host at their house and we do a potluck, or sometimes we get together for a happy hour or something like that. So it is very much its own little community. What's also funny is that you see a lot of people, because Marnie mentioned we have this Facebook group, and there's, as she said, we have 300 fosters, right? Not everybody always has kittens, but everybody's active in that group. And you go to these events and you're like, oh, you're so-and-so, because you kind of like, you've seen them online, but not that much. And then you're like, oh my God. So I think it's a great little community. It's really neat.
It is one of the things that I'm most proud of from the program, is the community that it created.
I just love that idea of putting together events for all your fosters, because I think that a lot of times they're unsung heroes, just in that they're not in the day-to-day of the rescue necessarily. You know, they might just be coming to adoption events to bring their foster, even with dog fosters. A lot of times they don't get to do the other things. And so creating some sort of, I don't know, way to come together, I think is just huge. And it's something that's missed with a lot of rescues in general, let alone the foster program.
Yeah. We had one guy a couple months ago that got the logo tattooed on his arm. So we have committed folks.
That's
What
when.
are you talking about? Trevor.
Yep. And he's on the board now too.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So one of the things that Marnie didn't really touch on is, unlike a lot of dogs and stuff like that, we don't have to take our kittens to adoption events. They when it comes to after they've gone, so they hit their weight, we take them back into the shelter to be spay or neutered. We can either opt to take them back to our house and continue fostering them until they've been adopted, and that way they go online. We do a little write-up and they go online. We can do a Zoom showing with a potential adopter. Or when they're having a kitten shortage, which actually happened in my last batch, Vanessa was like, can you leave them afterwards? Because they will be adopted within 24 hours. And then they'll stay at the shelter. So we don't have to attend like those regular events like dog fosters. When you have a dog, you know, you have to go to all those weekend events. So it's almost a little easier in that aspect.
Absolutely. And we actually have, like, with No Time to Spare, we have relationships with Petco where we can bring kittens up there and things like that for days at a time. Just the idea of giving everybody that option is cool. And just giving people a place to come to. I mean, a lot of it's just the camaraderie, right? A lot of it's just knowing that you're going through the same things that everybody else is.
Right.
I love the idea of the kitten drag queen bingo.
Tiny kitten drag. So all that was drag queen bingo, and we had people with kittens as they walked in. I mean, that's all it was. It was an people lined up around the block to get into that. It was huge. It was so much fun.
I always love hearing what other people are doing for fundraisers. So you know that Chris is our kind of fundraising master within Real Estate Pet Projects. She does these fundraisers that raise $100,000. She gave away an Airstream trailer.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. And we've done tons of kitten yoga at our shelter, which is always a sellout. So I'd like to maybe try to add this drag queen one to it.
Oh, well, reach out to me. I'll give you all the stuff we did. It was so fun and so easy and it was such a hit. Yeah.
We did goat yoga, but everybody complained that the goats messed up their backs.
Yeah. I had scratches on my back. Had to explain that to my husband. I can't have scratches all over my back.
Although
And it was my hair.
Anybody who fosters kittens were covered in scratches. I have like.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know, I have them on my arms from the cats, but not my back.
Yeah. Well, it's coming upon the end of our time here, but Marnie, thank you so very much for taking time out. It took us a while to get this organized because.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
No, this is great. And please know, like, reach out to her if you want her, like, talk to your shelters. If you want her to come out to a shelter, like, she does that. Like, she's not joking around. She'll send you anything you need. You can send, somebody from the shelter can come to our lovely Arlington, Virginia, and do a little sightseeing tour in DC, and learn everything there is to learn. They're very sharing.
I'm thinking I need to grab Andrea and come out to DC and see you and Marnie.
Yeah, we'll take you out
and come check out the whole shebang all at once.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really do appreciate this. If there's ever anything that we can do for you, please let us know.
Yeah.
Whether it's, even if we can get you in touch with some of the social media coaches and stuff, and maybe bring them on to help your social media people, if that ever helps.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you guys so
Okay.
much.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.